There is so much evidence that we are on a spheroidal Earth, yet the flat Earth concept resurfaces every now and again. As we saw, the concept of a flat Earth was almost discarded a few centuries before Christ. Despite its depiction in art, the belief in the concept was non-existent from at least 14th century onwards in Europe. In the 19th century, with the rise of Darwin's theory of evolution, the interaction between religion and science became more hostile. At this time, the myth arose that the Earth was thought to be flat in the Middle Ages. One myth, by Washington Irving, claimed that Columbus had to overcome opposition of the church to gain sponsorship for his expedition, a claim that was later found to be false based on historical research. Fueled by these myths, the English writer Samuel Rowbotham wrote books, a pamphlet called The Zetetic Astronomy, and another book called The Inconsistency of Modern Astronomy and Its Opposition to the Scripture, which supported the flat Earth concept. He found the Zetetic Societies in England and New York in 1883, which was grown after his death by Lady Elizabeth Blount into the Universal Zetetic Society in 1893, with a journal titled Earth is Not a Globe and another journal called Earth. This was followed by the formation of the International Flat Earth Research Society in 1956. The society declined in the 1990s and was moved to California. It was revived in 2004. Later on, the solar eclipse of August 2017 gave rise to YouTube videos trying to use the eclipse to show that the Earth was flat, starting a big debate online, which gave rise to flat Earth conferences around the world, and the debate is still continuing. After watching a bunch of these flat Earth videos, I can think of 4 reasons why people tend to hold this flat Earth belief. The first one is really simple, it's ego. Many flat earthers believe in a flat geocentric Earth, as they feel that the Earth being the center of the universe gives meaning to their lives. They say that if the world is what scientists say it is, then we are ordinary, and that cannot be true. It is funny to look at this, as it is exactly one of the beliefs that the Greek philosophers had, one that is not based on science or observation, but just a feeling, and we all know that feelings and emotions can be misleading. The other basis for many of these discussions is religion. Many flat earthers believe in scripture and point to the Bible and other mythical or biblical discussions or reasonings for a flat earth. Some go beyond these and look at very old cultures and the beliefs that they had. There are 2 sides to this story. On one side, while mythologies of different cultures are part of the scientific journey, they are not the full journey, and with this viewpoint, newer evidence needs to be incorporated and factored in when you're trying to build a worldview. On the other side are those that see the Bible and other religious mythology as uncorrupted and the word of God. But again, that is a belief and cannot be substantiated by evidence. For these 2 reasonings for the flat earth movement, the ego side and the religion side, there's not much we can do in the short term to change their mind, unless they themselves decide to change their mind and accept the evidence they see. This process usually takes a lot of time, and even people develop this over a lifetime, where they go from one viewpoint and belief to another. But the other 2 reasons are a little bit easier to understand and try to remove from this movement. The other reason a lot of people believe in this is cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is the discomfort you feel when you have contradictory beliefs or ideas. Many of us are brought up in a religious setting, with some concepts from those religions becoming part of our worldview. As much as we want to say that we don't believe them later in life, when people might become atheist or something like that, deep down, when we're under pressure, we go back to those beliefs. Now, believing in God and in what is described by many religions clashes with what you see in science many times. And people can take different approaches to this. Some try to interpret the religion or the religious material to match what science says. Others say that science is wrong. But that discomfort gives rise to a debate. Outside of religion, in fact, cognitive dissonance is what scientists face every day when their hypotheses are shown to be false in an experiment. They are trained to identify the biases that lead to this discomfort, be aware of them, and make sure that they do not these kind of beliefs do not affect their decision making. That is why scientists tend to focus on one problem at a time and change one parameter in each experiment, not trying to kind of do 10,000 changes at the same time. They try to separate one parameter, study that, make sure that they are not biased in that area, and then move to the next parameter that they are interested in. Yet not everyone stays aware of their biases. Many flat earthers tend to do the "but what about" thing. They start with one argument, then when someone shows that that argument is false, then they say, "But what about this other thing?" And that's not how debate should work. That's not how science works. And this kind of connects with the next point, which is many of them don't understand how physics and the scientific method work. Having watched so many flat earth videos, not understanding science has always been part of their debate. In many cases, the concept of relative motion is unclear for them. And to be honest, this is a concept that even engineers have problems with when they are studying it at first. But that does not give someone a reason not to accept it after they are introduced to it. The one scientific point that stood out to me is that they say gravity does not exist and that the world works based on density. The only problem is, we know from physics that density is not a force. And the reason things that are denser would, let's say, fall down, that's due to their mass and the force of gravity on them. The other thing is the inability to grasp scale, where something might be flat on one scale and then spherical on a larger scale when you zoom out. Now, this kind of belief is something that scientists can help with, kind of helping them understand how things work and educating them. But I have a feeling that we're not doing a good job at that. A lot of the flat earth debate online has been focused on drama, focusing on doing response videos to someone else and doing it in a dramatic way because you want to engage, obviously, your audience. But that means that the focus of the videos would be less on educating the public on each of those topics from a scientific perspective, which I think what it only does is it fuels further debate. It makes the other side of the debate become defensive, come up with another discussion, and this just goes on and on and on like a cycle. So with that in mind, is there a way for us to end this debate? I don't think there's much of a solution here unless the people that have this belief really are open to thinking about what is around them and go beyond the earth. But you also have to remember that many of these people are in it for the money, for the fame, or for the feeling of being the center of attention, and in those cases they might not even be aware of it. They might say, I really believe in this, but that might be the underlying reason they are doing it, and then there's not much you can do with evidence in this case. That being said, I think there is one simple thing that anybody should think about when faced with a question like whether the earth is flat or round. I started these few videos by saying that the earth is an oblate spheroid and that this is a scientific fact. It's like the scientific facts and the laws of nature need to be consistent with each other. You cannot say that the science works when it comes to your phone or your computer, but does not work when it comes to the shape of the earth. The laws that we know about the world around us do work with each other and build on each other. When they cannot explain something, it can be because the law is wrong, but in most cases it tends to be because we have not taken into account a parameter. The model that we're using maybe is missing one aspect, and that's what scientists do. Scientists then would correct their models. In a flat earther, if a flat earther is using their car to go to on the road, they're using an airplane to fly somewhere, or they use a smartphone, they're already relying on many of the laws of physics that are also used at the same time to describe how the universe works. And then if they are using all of these tools, they cannot just say that those rules are, or those laws, or those basic physical principles are not true. That shouldn't be a point up for debate.